All right, and yes, the microphones are on, bro. Welcome back, everybody, to the Best Listener Podcast. Best Listener in the Room, that is. So I'm going to start us off here with our Bible verse, as we always do. This is from John 16, and it's the one we picked, or Joey picked specifically, was John 16:33, but I would like to set it up. So I'm going to go a couple verses back here. John 16:31 through 33 goes like this. Do you now believe? Jesus replied. A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. We'll repeat that second part. John 16:33, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. That is John 16:33. Great verse there, Joe Man. Good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
pick, my
that.
friend.
I was trying to look out for the team.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah.
So I was coaching some biddy ball this afternoon. Brian was taking a little nappy nap. So Joey got everything situated here. And so let's talk about your mind set a little bit and your process. So how'd you get to the place where you wanted to talk about what we're talking about today? And let's see if we can dive into some stuff.
Well, I was thinking about the fact that I get in my own way a lot. And that was where the general idea came from. It's been a good day so far. It wasn't like I was in a negative attitude. I was just like thinking about, like I said, a topic, what would be helpful. And from that, this came up because it's something that I feel like I do a lot, like on a daily basis.
So could you give me an example from your life, even if it's like a while back or something, or like a for instance, that kind of helps set this up for everybody?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a great like example. We'll see. But even today, after we did a thing at the school for the after school program launch, and that was super fun, super exciting.
And let me say, you were just so popular with those kids.
Of course he was.
Doing awesome dance moves and flips. And so, yeah.
I can't do a flip, but they did ask
It felt
me.
like it.
They
It
did
felt
ask
like
me to do a backflip, and I was like...
Which means they thought you could. Was that
Right, yeah.
Okay, so it's after this event.
And Alexia was rehearsing with her scene partner, and then she mentioned it, and she was like, oh, and like Joey did such a good job. And I was like, I didn't really like I was just helping. You know what I mean? And it's little moments like that. But I do that to myself all the time. But then it's like, it's no wonder I don't feel accomplished sometimes, because I you know what that's where it came from.
Dude, that's so funny, because we had this pre-podcast talk
Yep.
about self-depreciation. Or self-deprecating, that was self-deprecating.
That is it. That is self-deprecation.
So that was it. So what I thought you were trying to get across was something else, and let's talk about self-deprecating behavior. So being self-deprecating can definitely be modest. So that could be a good thing, where you're kind of like downplaying something in order to not be braggadocious of sorts. However, there are also times when I think that it's really important that you learn how to take the win, you learn how to give yourself a cookie, and you learn how to accept a cookie from somebody else. Because here's a time where somebody's trying to deliver a compliment to you, and because you don't receive it, because you won't accept it, they didn't get the good feeling of getting to do that for you. That's the way you need to look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that a lot.
It flips the script,
Yeah.
like you go to compliment someone and you're like, oh man, this person was so great, and then you try to lift them up for someone else, right? And they're like, oh yeah, no, like I wasn't that good. It's almost like they're in a way making you look bad because you just vouched for them basically, and then they're like, oh yeah, it was like kind of regular, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's like it's a bummer, like you said, because if they're saying something nice, like you're basically telling them not to do that ever again, and that's
Right.
that's not what I want.
Let's bring this into
it's
the
just-
acting world, okay? So this would be like when an actor speaks on a laugh or speaks over an applause.
Yeah.
And what you do is you train the audience not to laugh because they're afraid to laugh. So you're basically training them to do what you actually hope that they do.
Which is
Interesting.
yeah, that makes total sense. You see that with our students when they're doing their showcases all the time. Like they'll have these moments because they're like really in character and doing it, and that laugh will come in, and they're not even expecting it or anything too, and then like that they miss so many opportunities as an actor inside of a script.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, I mean, actors at all levels do it, and in everything. So it's just one of those skills that you have to learn how to do because you don't want to train the audience in the wrong direction. And it's interesting because I think this would be a great this could be a great topic for an entire podcast. But I should talk about this idea of the cookie because I believe in this concept. I think I wrote about it in the book.
Yeah, I like that. I like that description of it. I had almost forgotten that like you explain it in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's positive because when you're trying to get positive feedback from a dog, you give the dog a cookie, right? There's this whole book about give the mouse a cookie, right? If you give a mouse a cookie, what's going to happen, right? It's going to come back for more, whatever. Well, you to positively train an animal, you give it a treat, right? And you can train mice this way. You can train dogs. It's like I want you to do this thing. As soon as you do it, you get a treat. It's like positive reinforcement, positive reinforcement, positive reinforcement. Well, guess what? It's so easy to train men. Ding dong, I'm the ding dong right here. Okay, you can, and I gifted my wife with this information, and just said, do with it what you will, but I'm a very simple animal, very simple. I take out the trash, and you like pat me on the back and like give me a kiss on the cheek and make me feel good. You just gave me a cookie. Guess what? I want to take out the trash. Like I want to do it next time. It's crazy how that can impact the next person. Thanks, Brian. So that idea, right, is now how do you give yourself a cookie? And that's kind of where you're stuck is you're in this place where you're, for whatever reason, you're struggling with letting yourself take the win, letting yourself get the cookie, like being willing to compliment yourself in a certain way. And I think that that's different than being open to critique or having a willingness to get better, because that's different, you know?
Is this like you're saying internally he's having a struggle with that in the moment? So like in this Alexia example from our thing today, like, you're so good, you did so great, you get the compliment, and then internally he's doing that to himself in that
in this
moment,
particular case, he did it externally. But yes, I mean, I imagine what he's talking about is this happens a lot, is what he's saying, in everyday life and in what he's doing, right? So he might, who knows? He sets up the podcast, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, you did a great job, and he's like, in his mind, he's beating himself up, going, it wasn't that good. What I did was not that great, right? And the problem with that is it's true. It's always true. Like, did you do the best lunch demonstration that's ever been done ever? I doubt it. In the history of lunch maybe you did, but I doubt it. You know, I wasn't there, but I doubt it.
No, it wasn't. Meaning,
at one point in time, Cirque du Soleil came to the. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a bigger fish kind of thing, right? And even yourself, like, you might have gone, okay, now that I know it, now that I've seen it, now that I did what I did. What could I have brought that would have been even better? How could I next level this, right? And there's always going to be room to grow. So that's like the thing is, you can always find room to grow, and you should. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't celebrate success.
That's a good way to put it. So then how do you do that with the cookie? Like, what do you mean by cookie?
Cookie is, well, in this particular case, it's accepting the compliment and understanding that it's true, because you actually know that it's true.
That's true.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, I did the best that I could do in the moment.
Okay, put it this way. I think this is a pretty easy way to look at it. Today's event with you, today's event without you. Can you pretty much guarantee it was better that because you were there?
Yeah.
So you brought something that was special. You brought something that was good, and therefore you can just like take that full compliment. And how much prep did you have on it, right? You found out about it the day before. You had less than 24 hours. You kind of just thought about it. You sort of just showed up and did what you do, and you just decided to be a certain way. And the way that you were, here's what's fascinating for me, is I'm not that way. I don't invite myself to these events. I'm not invited because I'm not our best. I'm not our best face there. If you want the kids to like learn truth and have me be like stare them down, I'll do a great job at that.
It'll be fantastic.
And it's not that I can't be fun, but it's not my default. I don't go there as easily,
Yeah.
And you have this thing where you're like, boom, like total release and willingness to just kind of go there, and it could be partly you're still closer connected in age than I am too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I also think there's in these moments like an internal gauge of knowing yourself a little bit, and knowing what you're capable of in certain spots. Like, for example, the thing that just came to my mind where you wouldn't want to hear that cookie let it be true is like you go to that like we talk about this a high school like production where it was not good and like it wasn't up to par, and you know that you didn't do what you could have done for your lines and your work and these things, and the family members come up to you and they're like, you did such a great job, and internally like I didn't. Like, I really actually do know what I can do here. And this is a moment where a bunch of people give me cookies, but that cookie's not true about myself. Whereas this one, he knows that he has a lot of energy and is like his dancing is like he knows how to just get in the zone. It's not like he's a dancer, but he's just being silly and being weird and doing the moves they like and that kind of thing.
People are envisioning this event.
Well,
I know,
yeah.
right?
Like
We dance.
The Brian shuffle here is like next level.
It's amazing.
And I think that leads to something which might help like you explain it further, which is the part of it is not being able to like identify what it is that I do. Like it's just, and so it's hard to have confidence in like a presence.
Sure,
if that makes sense.
I
know I'm a joyful person.
Yeah,
but
so that makes perfect sense. But now I want you to realize that also, though it's hard to define, it is an absolute choice, and you make the choice. And so because you choose to flip on that switch, even if you don't know exactly where it came from, like per se, you have all this earned confidence in this area. And so it's yours, you own it, and now for you to further it and further define it is cool. But I mean, you take me, and it's hard sometimes for us to even sell our business corporate training, because all I know is I'm going to make you better. All I know is if I get the chance, I'm going to be honest. And if I don't think we can make you better, I'm not going to work with you. But so far, we've gotten rave reviews, and people are like, yeah, like you made a huge difference in moving the needle. And in what exact tangible way? Well, it's weird because it's going to be different almost for everybody, right? Which is why I always default back to this comment that Thomas Gorney made about me. His quote is, Matt's a guy with a particular set of skills. He and it's kind of like, that's pretty vague. But Thomas Gorney, billionaire, wants me in the room because those particular set of skills he knows he can use like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You're that guy. You've got a particular set of skills that you bring to this thing, and it's like you may not even know. It might be like it's like you got if you had a particular set of golfing skills, right? And you show up to the course and it's like, well, you didn't know, but you're all you have is a 7-iron and a putter. Where you're like, yeah, a particular person, you still want them on your team, you know, and they're gonna do the best they can with that toolbox. And today, for instance, you had a toolbox, whatever the toolbox was, that was at your disposal, and because you were there, you made the best of it, and like that was highly valuable.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good way to break it down. That helps a lot. But I like that because I do feel like that's a common struggle. Just like
and I'll bet a lot of people deal with this. So let's even really quick before we wrap, let's try to bring this into performance. And it doesn't have to be even acting, but acting would be included here. But in performance, this idea of being willing to take a win, right?
Yeah, can I jump on that because it actually happened today too in the front room with those two when they were rehearsing. I came up to see them.
Sports happened in the front room.
Sorry, with the two actors who were rehearsing in the front room.
Okay, you hit it, and then I'll go back to my analogy.
Sure. I was sorry. I went up there and I saw them and I was like, they were going through it. And the new guy, Danny, had some really great moments. And I was like, yeah, you did really good in the spot. Like you had some really good connected moments. And I specifically complimented on him on the work of the lines. Like he was like all the way there. He was like super down with it. Like it was clear he knew all of it. And I was like, you really put in the work, man. You do a really good job, but you really put in the work. And then same deal. He's like, yeah, I guess I do. And I'm like, no, you do. Like that's what I saw and it was a fact, but he couldn't see it. And he even mentioned that. He was like, I have trouble taking and receiving compliments on this specific work. And so it was a clear, like, it just came to me example of that, like right there in acting, like here, you've done all the work with the prep, you've put it all in, and you can't allow yourself to realize that in a specific area or in the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. So if we jump on your example instead then, and we say, here's this guy that's done all this work. So why would it be important to take the cookie? Okay. And here's why it's important to say, well, thank you, and let me acknowledge that, and let me even, if I'm not sure, let me question it fully. But if it is true, and you're an acting coach that I respect, and you say that is true, then I could take that, and then if I take the cookie and say, okay, well, good, so I've done the work in what area? And it's showing, okay, great. So therefore, if I'm still not getting the performance I want, then what area now needs work? And then it leads to a really good question. So if I'm like, go back to sports now, I say, hey, we lost the game. You know, we lost the game. But I noticed that your vertical jump has gone up by like an inch, and because of that you made a catch that you couldn't have made before. You don't want to be like, oh no, like not sure. It's like,
yeah, right,
thank you, I have been working really hard on my vertical actually, but I'm so disappointed we lost the game. Like let me go back to the game tape and see in what other areas now can I push and improve and push and improve? And can I get even more vertical? Maybe. But maybe it's like, hey, now it's time to really focus on something else to get open more often or whatever it is.
I'm assuming this is probably completely and totally true. But do you do that as a coach? Because you coach your son's team. When you guys finish a game, do you go back and like look in your head at areas that like could have been improved in areas that did really well, and like figure out how to like go through that, and even as your own coaching goes?
So I do with the coaching. I don't really with the boys because they're so little.
Sure, that makes sense.
And at a certain, I probably wouldn't even as the kids get older. I would always look at myself as a coach though, at every age. So, but as the kids get older, I would encourage them to do that.
Yeah.
And I do encourage that a little bit with my own son.
Yeah.
For him to just think about little things that like, hey, like moments that could have been better or whatever. Like I will bring up little things like that. and specifically the wins.
Oh, cool.
And I think that is with youth athletics especially, but in every performance, you want to find. Okay, let's go back to the play example that you said. Going to a high school play. This is why when I go to a high school play, I'm not going to say good job most of the time because it's not good most of the time.
Yeah, right.
Okay? It's just not me. I'm not going to give you some vague compliment that isn't true. I'm not going to be like, the show was so good when it wasn't, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My truth is not that. However, especially if I know you and I've seen something, I can very specifically compliment you and be honest about something that was a growth point or something specific, and I can just talk about that. So I'm not going to lie to you and be like, it was a great show, but I could be like, this moment in particular, I remember this thing, and what you did there was pretty magical, and it stood out, just so you know. I noticed that, and it was like really cool. And then they could take that and absorb it, and they know that I'm not BSing. I'm not giving them something that is not true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's cool. Like to break it down in that way so that it's always 100%.
Yeah, and then you take that and forward it to the basketball, where my eldest son is right now like competing against really high level athletes, and he's relatively new to the game. So he's learning on the fly. Like it's crazy the amount of growth that kid's gone through. And so every game, there's just like a plethora of things where it's like he doesn't know certain things because he just hasn't played the game that long. But I see very specific growth, and I can see different moments, and I can mention them, and I can say this first, and then with him specifically, I'll say, would you like to hear about things like little growth things? And at first it was harder for him, and now he's like, yeah. And now we've gotten past that where I don't have to ask him anymore. Now he's like, where can I grow?
That's awesome.
Super cool.
Yeah, I love the idea of the cookie.
The cookie.
Apply that.
That's awesome. Future episode. Look out for it.
We just talked about it. So
I guess that's true.
true.
I thought you said you wanted to go deeper on it further. So
I mean,
well, we could
we
get
did
it.
kinda go.
We could bring in cookies for the. That'd be nice.
I didn't know if there was more.
If we're gonna bring props in and
Fair enough.
choreograph it. Sure.
Fair enough. Wah, wah. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Best Listener in the Room podcast. I'm Matt. That's Joey. And we got Brian over here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the show if you like it. We'd like to hear from you guys. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.